point on the road against the odds. Is that the starting point of the now annual post-February surge under Kieran McKenna for Ipswich Town? Up next, test that theory. Tottenham Hotspur at Portman Road this Saturday. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the Prematch show. It's joining me, as always, to impart his wisdom. We're going to cut through the emotion with facts and statistics, and we're going to park all of our feelings, Seb, aren't we? We're going to cut through that, aren't we? You and I, we don't know how to pitch this one, do we? Let's be clear right off from the start. We don't know how to feel.
It is a bit of a strange one this week, isn't it? Normally, I kind of do all the research and I get a general feel for things, and often very, very wrong. And we kind of make our predictions at the end of the show, etc. But yeah, I'm a bit torn this week. We'll come to our predictions later, but yeah, I've just got a feeling this might not be as easy a game as it would have been perhaps 3 weeks ago when they were playing literal children in their back four. They've got a few people back from injury, so we will come on to Spurs shortly. But yeah, a strange one in that we're not quite sure how it's going to play out this week, are we?
Yeah, so we'll do our best to explain things in our kind of normal, rational manner. I have a new way of predicting the scoreline, which we experimented with last week. It didn't actually work last week, did it? It wasn't accurate, but it adds some jeopardy and makes me feel better after we've done with the FPL feature. But Seb, you must have been buoyant at full time last Saturday. A draw that felt like a win, wasn't it?
It did 100%. Yeah, it was a real back to the Wolves performance. You know, Tuanzebe gets sent off on, was it 39 minutes, 40 minutes? And you're thinking, right, well, that's really irritating because we've played well in the first half and now we're not going to get out of here with anything. And then, you know, Delap scores that brilliant goal. You know, he's another one to add to his kind of repartee. We've seen him run from the halfway line. We've seen him put defenders down and smash it low into the corner. We've seen him score on the goal line at Spurs last November, and the footwork for that one was absolutely superb. And then, you know, they equalised. How's your luck? The one place it falls is where Ollie Watkins is running in, but that's what good strikers do. And then you're thinking, right, you've got to show some grit, some determination here, and fair play. You know, we held on, defended well. Palmer, epic saves. You know, I've watched that one back from all the angles possible. It is a top draw save, and yeah, I just feel with him in the nets now for the rest of the season. What are we, 13 games to go? With him in the sticks for the rest of the season, then we've got a real chance. And then you go and watch the Mark Ashton, Kieran McKenna, Sky Studio interview they did, and Ashton gets you all, you know, pumped up and good to go. So yeah, we will see what happens. Is it the run-in yet? No, the run-in's 10. I think we decided last season, didn't we? So 3 more weeks to go. So maybe middle of March, third week of March will become the run-in. But yeah, we're going to give it a real go and see what happens, aren't we?
So we're now emotional again. And so is the chat. Let's say hello to folk. John, first up. I can't wait. He says, baby, I can't wait. Seriously, to see what happens in the last third. And will be our greatest achievement ever if we avoid the drop, he says. Ashley's feeling rather confident about this one. Amanda, feel we can do this? Blimey, said we haven't caveated it well enough, have we? Good day to Greg, to Rob, Streaky in the Lake District, checking in on the FPL feature. No doubt, great to have you with us. Streaky, Darren, I think we'll have more confidence with a good keeper. Yeah, agree with that. Even to Colin, Neil, all the usual frequent flyers. Tim's sending us positive vibes as well. Richard, beautiful flues moving through my family like Caesar through goal. Lovely oversharing there. JB, up the Blue Monday. I was going to say up yourself, JB, but I meant that in the nicest possible way. Didn't really come across at that, but thank you for the support and for the love. Evening to Horse Honorer. Lots of you here. We will dip in and out of the chat all evening. Hello to from Helsinki. David Bradley's with us. I'd love to have our international audience. If you're a Brisbane base, I think Michael, is our mate Michael here tonight? I can't see him in the chat yet. We had an email to Seb from someone who lives in Brisbane who said, who's the guy who's from Brisbane? I want to find someone to watch the games with. So if you're out there, let us know and we can put you in contact. We can bring Ipswich Town fans together. That's what we're about here on Blue Monday. It really isn't. We're here to talk about football. Let's do that, Seb. starting with kind of fallout from Villa. Lots been said about the Tuanzebe situation. I'd wholeheartedly recommend folk check back on the Flagship. A really good debate about that situation there, with Ben trying to play devil's advocate and trying to introduce different considerations into the mix. But I think Joe's perspective generally chimed, I think, with a lot of ours, and generally, I think everyone in the cold light of day, and then backed up by what's his face on Sky Sports News on Monday, Dermot Gallagher. We all feel a little bit hard done by, but one player who won't be involved, Axel Tuanzebe. Another player who we pretty certain isn't involved, we haven't had definitive news, Seb, is Julio Enciso. I'm gutted because that's ruined my FPL strategy, as if there was one to begin with. But really disappointing having seen him, star against Southampton in, what was a pretty crap day for us. He was probably the highlight, and now out for a few weeks, seemingly.
Yeah, really frustrating, wasn't it? That, he had that kind of, he was the one bright spot from the Southampton game. He got people off their seats and was happy to pick up the ball and run. And we saw it in the brief time he was on the pitch at Villa Park. Was it John McGinn? Dropped his shoulder, went past him, and then kind of fired a shot straight down the throat of Emi Martinez after probably about 5-10 minutes maybe before going off. And I did fear, having seen him, the way he went down. At first, I thought it was one of the Connor Chaplin tactical kind of sit-down things, because I think Villa had a corner at the time, didn't they? So I thought a little bit of S-Housery here, take the sting out of the game, etc. But, the longer it went on, and he kind of went to go off and then kind of went down again nearer to the dugouts, and he looked like he was in tears when he was walking off the pitch down the tunnel. You start to think to yourself, that's not good at all. We know he's got a history of injury with his knee. So I was fearing the worst. I thought there might be a TWTD story on Monday or Tuesday saying, out for the rest of the season, etc. And that would be just how our luck's gone this year with various injuries. But it looks like, judging from the Paraguayan national side doctor, is it? And the Athletic, I think, are also reporting that it sounds like you're looking at about a month without him. So given the international break coming up, that probably only means you're looking at 3-4 league games, maybe Tottenham, United, Palace, and Forest in the Cup, and then Forest in the Premier League game. So maybe back for the crucial start of April with that home game against Wolves. And yeah, frustrating not to have him, but given how some injuries have gone for us this season with Ogbene and Wes Burns, etc., not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, probably fair summary there, Seb. On to more positive things. Well, not necessarily positive. ITFC women have a week off. Their game against Squalia, this time the home version, postponed due to international call-ups off the back of a 7-point week last time out, Seb. Have you seen Ella Rutherford's winning goal from last weekend?
Is that the one from range?
The one from range, yeah. Really great. I mean, really marginal game Exeter, as we thought would be really strong opposition. They've come up and harness the momentum of promotion. We know all about that from the men's team in the championship last season. But yeah, really probably the toughest opposition I've seen at Felixstowe this season, and we found a way. And the league table looks really positive, but a real kind of March, really busy time, lots of away games in there. The official supporters club encouraged me to nudge you towards their socials, where they've got details of coach travel if you want to head down to the likes of Wimbledon and Watford and Gwalia away. Hopefully it will actually happen this time. So keep a look out there. But no match this weekend at Felixstowe. So I get a week off for the vocal cords. I can take a run. Yeah, I'm for the performance athletes at Felixstowe, I'm the most important one, of course. No, we move on.
Important to rest in between games.
Yeah, you can feel it. You can hear it, mate. I just need to, I need to take a break. A couple of other bits and pieces. Let's start with a more important one. Let me put a photograph up for you, Seb, and you can give me, you can tell me your reaction to it. Here we go. You might need to explain it for those listening on podcast. What can you see there?
So we have our very own Mikey Penty-Smith holding what appears to be some sort of tablet or iPad to Kieran McKenna, who doesn't look that impressed, I'm not going to lie. So presumably Mikey in the day job is having a chat with Mr. McKenna, is he? Presumably showing us the pre-match show and saying, this is what Rich and Seb think that Tottenham are going to do next week. What are your thoughts on this, Kieran? No, fair play. Yeah, it seems like he's done an interview with him, so I'm sure. Do we know when it's going out? Is it imminent? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say it's for Blue Monday. Sadly not. Mikey's got a day job, as people know. It's for the Premier League preview show, which will go out tomorrow, Friday night, and I think is repeated and possibly available online. Definitely on Sky and TNT Sport. 6 minutes, I think, interview that he's did with Kieran McKenna. I think obviously longer, but what will go out is 6 minutes, and a little bit about McKenna's career, I think, and obviously them more recent times. So yeah, keep a look out for Mikey doing fantastic work with his busy mate Kieran McKenna. Any captions for that photograph, welcome in the chat. We'll put any non-offensive ones up on the screen. And Seb, you missed out on the Blue Monday episode 900. Any reflections? This is episode 902. But yeah, any reflections or any encouragement you want to provide for people to go and watch 900?
It was great listening back to the special. I was at the cinema on Sunday night, so I couldn't make it, I'm afraid. But yeah, it was an excellent show to listen back to, and crazy how far it's come down the line. You know, the little snippets you put up of the first ever intro by Ben, and how it's all moved on with various graphics that you do with intros, etc. And yeah, just great to see. And I guess, you know, how appreciative we all are as a team that we finally got 2 to 3 years of really good stuff to talk about, following some real dross. I remember in the Telegram group, I think it was FPL Tractor wrote, how did Mikey and Seb, you know, get through all those 0-0 or 3-0 instant match reaction shows in the 2022 season. But no, great, highly recommended. If you sign up to Telegram, you get 2 weeks free trial, and then you can see the 900 show. It's kind of a behind the scenes featurette of how we all kind of got involved in the podcast, how the podcast developed over time, but it's only going down the Telegram route, a bit of a special thing for those subscribers. So check out Telegram and you can see it there. And yeah, an excellent show. Really well done by everyone.
Yeah, our nearest and dearest, though, I suspect at some point we'll share that with the big wide world as well. And actually, I found a way that you could watch it on YouTube, but I won't reveal that. Oh, Norman, here we go. Mikey to McKenna. This is written. What's McKenna's response, Norman? You've missed the second half of the conversation. McKenna goes, underrated, Mikey. That's what I would say to that. No, definitely not. Right, let's move on to Spurs. I'm moving us away from FBL. Keep your Mikey caption competition coming in, though, because we will put the good ones up. Spurs, Seb, as we kind of kicked off with, it's really difficult. I mean, at the best of times, always difficult to know which version of Spurs you're going to get. But last few weeks, certainly the turn of the year has been really challenging for Ange Postecoglou. Really well known about the injury crisis there, but it's starting to improve. But it's such a weird. We don't really know where we stand, do we?
No, it's a really strange one because the league campaign has been awful. They currently sit in 12th. Awful kind of run of form. Pretty much directly after we went to White Hart Lane to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where it's called these days, and had that 2-1 victory. So the league campaign is a complete write-off. I guess we all remember, was it in the summer or very early in the season when Postecoglou did this weird thing in an interview where he was like, I always win a trophy in my second season, which kind of puts yeah, I'm not doing the voice. I'll leave the voice to you. Kind of puts a lot of pressure on him, and they had those back-to-back domestic cup exits. I know they won the first leg against Liverpool 1-0, but did anybody truly expect them to go through over the second leg and face Newcastle at Wembley? I don't think so. They were pretty toothless in that match. Was it no shots on target at Anfield? Yeah, they got a bit of a slapping 4-0 on the night, and a lot of criticism after the game. And then a few days later, they lose to Villa, who weren't in the best of form either at the time, went out the FA Cup. So all of a sudden, it's pretty much their season is now Europa League or bust. And I guess if they win the Europa League, I don't know if they're still the bookies' favourites. They were for quite a long time in it. If they do win the Europa League and they finish 12th, 10th, then the fans are going to be pretty happy because you get Champions League qualification and you can use this awful injury record, which they have had a really, really torrid time with injuries, as mitigation for the league campaign. And it's a really strange one now because, you know, what do they do? The players they've got coming back, do they rush them potentially to get them involved in the league campaign, or do they prioritize Europe? It's a really strange one. And then you've got to take into account kind of the off-field protests that are going on against Daniel Levy's ownership. There was I think it was 1,000 fans did a march before the game last weekend against United. A handful, 250 stayed behind at full time. You can hear the "We want Levy out" chants kind of in the away end when the games are on TV. So it's not a happy kind of fan, but not a happy home life at the minute. And it's
got there eventually, folks.
It's crucial they get these players back, get them up to speed, and potentially, focus on Europe because the league campaign is gone. They're 12 on 30 points. They're 11 points off the European places. They're 14 points off the Champions League places. Champions League would have been their target at the start of the season. They finished 5th last year in Postecoglou's first year in charge. So the natural progression would be to get top 4 or top 5 this year, depending on what spot goes to the Champions League. And it's just, it's been an awful league campaign, but they do have this heavy mitigation of the really bad injuries behind them. And if they do win the Europa League, qualify for the Champions League, I think they'll draw a line under the campaign and go again next summer. But if they don't, and suddenly, let's say they go out in the next round of the Europa League and they're still 9th, 10th, 11th going into the last few games of the season, it's going to be pretty toxic in their games, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean the other aspect that we definitely talked about in the reverse fixture pre-match show is the strategy, Seb, the tactics. It's entertaining, and Postecoglou has himself mentioned it, that he wants to entertain, but it appears to be a very guts or glory type strategy. And when you are down to the bare bones, to quote another Tottenham manager, I wonder whether he's a bit more pragmatism might have been sensible, because it is very gung-ho, isn't it? Talk to us about the kind of the stats and all that kind of stuff, because there are metrics that look quite good, but they are very kind of schizophrenic, aren't they? It's very positive attacking and very bad defensively, which it's not sustainable, is it?
No, it's all or nothing, isn't it? They've played 25 games this season. They've won 9, they've lost 13, and they've only drawn 3. And this is a common kind of theme for Postecoglou's time in charge. They simply just don't draw games. It's absolutely all or nothing. And we know they like to play this high energy, high pressing, attacking football. It's good to watch. I enjoy when they've got their full first 11 out, full squad out. I enjoy watching Spurs games because they play entertaining football. But that kind of tactic is only as good as the players that you've got on the pitch. We've seen Ruben Amorim at Man United, got this brilliant 3-4-3 system that's been so successful for him in Lisbon. He comes to the Premier League, the players can't do it and they suffer. And when you've got someone like Mickey van der Ven, who is incredibly quick, he's one of the top 3 quickest players in the Premier League in your back line, you can play, a very high defensive line and look to smother teams and hit them because you've got that security at the back, a bit like England with Kyle Walker in various international tournaments. But as soon as that's gone, and you don't adapt things and you still decide to play that high line, if you haven't got the pace and the players to get you out of trouble, that's when things start to go wrong. And I just feel not necessarily more pragmatism, but I think he's surprisingly inflexible is it inflexible or unflexible? One of those two words. For a Premier League manager not to adapt, regardless of who he's got available at the time. We know how Spurs are going to play regardless of
4-3 FN3, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's going to be attack. It's going to be a high line. Fullbacks are going to push way up the pitch. And, that's what we expect from them. But without your first choice players and with people having to play out of position, that's incredibly risky, which is why they've been on this god-awful run of form.
And something to be said, maybe the style of play, the swashbuckling nature, perhaps a contribution to the injuries themselves too.
They do seem muscular, don't they? A lot of their injuries, very few seem to be impact related. It seems to be very much muscular. So I presume they train at an incredibly high intensity to match the intensity at which they're going to play on match days. And surely that must be a factor.
Give us some stats on form, Seb, especially away.
Yeah, so away form is 12th in the league with 13 points. Played 12, won 4, only drawn 1. Like I say, don't draw games. Lost 7, scored 21 goals on their travels, conceded 14. The last 5 away, they've won the last 2 league games back to back. One of those was against Brentford. The other one was a 5-0 win against Southampton, which was Russell Martin's last game, I think it was, wasn't it? And obviously they beat Man United last weekend at home. 3 defeats on the road: Everton, Arsenal, and Forest. And since we went there, was it start of November? If they'd have won that day, they'd have got into the top 4. Obviously, we go and win 2-1. They then go, the whole Spursy tag thing comes out because they lost to Palace a few weeks previously. All the Spursy stuff comes out. And a few nights later, they go and beat Man City 4-0, which is kind of, the typical Tottenham at the time, what people were saying, how can you lose to Ipswich and Palace and then go and smash Man City 4-0? But then since then, it was a win of only 2 league games in the next 12, and they lost 8 of those 12 fixtures. It was an awful run of form. Yes, they had really bad injuries. They had poor Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall and kind of players they'll have bought in for the future and probably intended to give 15 to 20 games this season were playing week in, week out because they had pretty much their entire first choice defense and pretty much their entire first choice attacking options were very, very limited. But yeah, it was an awful run of form since we went there, but they have started to turn a corner slightly in recent weeks with the 2 league victories and the return of players.
It's always a funny coincidence when a team is struggling, the fans protest, and then the team puts in a win, which is what happened last Sunday. The Man United victory. Is there, talk us through that one, Seb. From my having not
Tough
watched
watch.
the game, it looked to me like they got away with one because Garnacho couldn't get a shot on target, and had he been able to, they might have lost that one. Is that fair?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I don't think neither side were great. It wasn't a very good game at all. You know, you kind of sit down at 4:30 with a beer for Sky Sports Super Sunday. I thought Tottenham Man United, that might be exciting because the way Spurs play, etc. And United are a bit of a basket case defensively, but it was a tough watch. And like you say, if Garnacho had his shooting boots on, then potentially they could have been in a bit of trouble. But they did win it 1-0. James Maddison, boo. More on him to come later. He got the winner after Anana kind of spilled a shot right into his path. They did have the majority of the statistics were in their favour. 56% possession, more XG, 22 shots, 7 on target. But I guess the crucial thing they will take away from it was there was a return to the starting 11 for Vicario in goal, for
Their
James
best player,
Maddison.
wasn't he? From what I saw.
James Maddison in midfield, and also crucially their bench as well. They had some bench options back at last with left back Destiny Udogie, Brennan Johnson, and Wilson Odobert all making a return. So finally they had some options where they could look to change things up. So I know all they will care about is a win. I think it was their first win at home in something like 3 months or something crazy. So they'll care about the results, but crucially they saw some of the first teamers come back, and that's what Postecoglou will say, isn't it? He will say, "My hands are tied with this awful injury run. Give me my first choice players, and I'll do the job." And that kind of proves he's right, which is maybe why he's potentially still in the job.
I'll do the job, mate. Should we talk about Ange?
Just who we are. You didn't look down enough. You need to look down more.
Sorry, mate.
Spot on.
Yeah. A lot of time is 3 months or whatever it is. 4 months is a long time in football, and we were very big on Ange and quite liked his kind of little bit snarky, sarcastic, kind of jovial at times mindset. But the run they've been on is not. It looks like it's really taken a toll on him, which is not nice. We talked about his kind of tactical style there, Seb. But to your point, if he wins them the Europa League, does he stick around there, do you think, or is it a parting of the ways in the summer?
No, I think if he wins the Europa League, I think he sticks around because that's Champions League qualification, which is what the project, the strategy would have been at the start of the season. Yes, they've gone about it in a very roundabout way, but if he finally delivers some kind of trophies, I push everyone towards Blue Monday Rewind. You have to listen to that to realise how far back you have to go for Spurs to win a major trophy. I know they won the League Cup. Was it 15 years ago now? Maybe 20 years ago? Was it late sort of noughties?
2008.
2008, 2009 was it? Maybe I can't remember. But yeah, they this is a big side, and I also thought that Craig and Dave made a really good point about Spurs do run the risk of being potentially left behind as the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, and City normally kick on, and then this whole kind of bunching in the middle of the table, your Fulhams, your Bournemouths, your Forests, they all kind of push on as well. So I think if they do win silverware, and that therefore logically gives them Champions League qualification, I think he sticks around. It might well be a bit of a Ten Hag situation whereby you get to November time, it's not getting any better, and then potentially they look for a parting of the ways. But I think if he delivers the silverware, he will stay around. That would then fit his mantra of always winning a trophy in his second season. Finished 5th last year. I thought he did a really good job last year because they were in a massive transition phase. They went from this really defensive football under Nuno and Jose Mourinho and Antonio Conte. So he transitioned from that style to his high press, high energy, high line attacking style, whilst overseeing the departure of club legends like Hugo Lloris and Harry Kane and Eric Dyer kind of all moved on. So a lot of plaudits for last year. You could see it start to unravel a little bit towards the end when, do you remember when they played City the midweek before the City finished? And Spurs fans were actively happy to lose because it would stop Arsenal from winning the league. And he didn't like that. I remember in the press conference, he didn't like that. And I think he had an altercation with a fan afterwards. So he kind of showed another side to his character then. But yeah, I mean, this run must take its toll on him. I thought the kind of defense he gave of the young players following one of the recent games was quite good on Sky, where he said, give it to me, but these poor guys are playing week in, week out because I can't rest them. I like that. I like it when a manager kind of circles the wagons a little bit and protects his own, as a manager should. So You said it back in November you'd like to have a pint with Ange Postecoglou. Is that still the case?
I like to have a coffee with him in a nice, cozy coffee bookshop and just have a chill out and relax. That's what I want for Ange. I do wonder, Seb, whether Levy had an out there to sack him and maybe could have been justified to do so and take the heat off himself. The fact he hasn't, and those protests are now directed at him, aren't they? So that's an interesting dynamic.
But what do you do? I share an office with a Spurs fan, and the poor guy gets the brunt of most things on a Monday morning. You know, it makes me look better with some of our results. And as he says, what's the point in sacking him? Because who are you going to bring in instead? With the current injury situation, what can you do? You know, you're so kind of committed to this project in terms of they've bought the players he wants to buy to play this very specific kind of football. If you tear it all up 18 months into the project whilst those players are unavailable, it's pretty much a poison chalice for anybody coming in, isn't it?
Yeah, fair dues. And to your point as well, owners love it when the manager puts himself in the firing line. And we talk about Mick McCarthy doing that for Marcus Evans. You know, post-match again in the result against us, he blamed himself, didn't he? He said, it's my responsibility, my fault for that one. So, yeah, I think owners like that loyalty. But sadly, it's not a particularly well-shared commodity amongst the football community, is it? Let's talk a little bit about us before we go back and finish on Spurs. The head-to-head record, Seb, as I think I probably remarked back in November, much better than I thought.
It's closer, isn't it? Yeah, 22 wins for us, 8 draws between the two. See, very few draws between these two sides. And 24 wins for for Spurs. As always, we will push you towards the excellent Blue Monday Rewind with Craig and Dave, looking back at a few visits in the past. Just in case you've not listened to it yet, obviously it was a 2-1 victory in January 2002. Marcus Bent and John McGreal with the goals in that weird run where we won like 7 games out of 8 or whatever it was, and basically just got ourselves completely safe. We doubled Spurs that season. That winning run was started with a 2-1 victory at White Hart Lane just before Christmas. You're wearing the 01-02 shirt there to kind of manifest and give
the wrong blue.
Give good vibes. The year before, the season we finished 5th, it was a 3-0 victory just before New Year's Eve. That was I remember that performance was
should have been double.
Incredible.
Should have been at least 6. We
tore them to pieces. Marcus Stewart, Alan Armstrong, and Jamie Clapham with the goals after the best dummy assist you'll ever see from David Johnson, who selflessly missed from a yard out to allow Clapham to score against his old side. What a man. And as you said, the head-to-head record, this stat will give you encouragement. There's only been 2 victories for Spurs at Portman Road in over 40 years in the league. There was the August 1994 win for them, and then you have to go back to November 1984. So it's a side that we have a very good record against at Portman Road. And even in the relegation season, 01-02, we still doubled them.
Are you going to say it, or do I have to say it?
You can do it. It's your line, isn't it? You can do it.
So you're telling me there's a chance. There's some other great memories in the chat. Mike, do you still remember the Jason Cundy wind-assisted punt goal that went over Craig Forrest? There was an FA Cup 3-0, I think, 4th round tie, 92, 93, or 93, 94, I think it was, because Ian Marshall scored. I remember that one. But yeah, very fond memories of that 3-0 at Christmas time. Near the top of the league, and absolutely bossed that one. And I dare say there's a few people out there who feel positive about Saturday because of what happened in 01-02, and I probably count myself in that. We were both at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in November, one of the few memorable days. Most of them away from home this season. What's your recollections of that Sunday afternoon, Seb?
An excellent game, wasn't it? We went into it with absolutely zero expectations. It was the first time we'd kind of gone to one of these new Premier League. Was West Ham before this? Maybe, but the stadium, you couldn't compare the two. You know, it's the first time we went to one of these big new Premier League stadiums that none of us had been to in the past. And yeah, a really unexpected victory, an excellent performance. 2-1, obviously, Sammy Smodic with the overhead kick, and then Liam Delap from basically on the goal line, and Bentancur pulled a goal back with 20 minutes. We kind of thought, here we go, but we rode it out pretty comfortably. I remember quite a big save from Muric towards the end from Dominic Solanke, kind of got down and pushed it out. I think it hit his leg and he put it behind for a corner. But I think, was that our best performance of the season, our best away day of the season? It was better than Wolves, because Wolves was the last minute of Wolves was incredible, obviously, but after they equalised, it was kind of wave after wave of Wolves pressure, and that wasn't as enjoyable. I wasn't at the home game for Chelsea. You were at both. What was the better performance of the two, would you say?
Similar vibe. I mean, it wasn't like we were dominant. We definitely had to ride out a bit of a storm. Obviously, Johnson runs in the family, misses an absolute sitter in the opening minute, doesn't he? When he should
No
score.
need.
No, where you got that from? I'm really sorry for that, Joe. That was so that's a low hanging fruit for me there. I think like the Villa one for me is up there because I feel like we had to, against the odds, really had to earn it. Whereas 11v11. But I agree with you. The most effective, controlled performance, really tactically got it spot on, didn't he, Kieran McKenna, that day? But is that the first win of the season, Seb, that day?
Yeah. And I think it was the day after Wolves won theirs. We got down to, didn't we? There were 5 sides without a win, 2 sides without a win. Wolves then won on the Saturday. So we were the only side that hadn't obviously won in the league at that stage. And then we went to Spurs, put in an excellent performance. Yeah, Mike D mentioning there, Amari was excellent against Spurs away. He really was, ran himself into the ground. And yeah, it was a brilliant performance, unexpectedly. And for me, yeah, best weekend of the season so far for me.
Until ... Back to Spurs, January business, quite a few signings said, but maybe not enough.
Yeah, well, they had to do some stuff, didn't they? They went very early with a new keeper. Obviously, Vicario was injured. I think Fraser Foster then got injured as well. So they were playing Brandon Whiteman. I want to say that might be a completely wrong name, but he's been at Spurs for a while, but barely featured for them. So they went out. They've the model they've adopted in recent years is this young, progressive kind of player they can look to kind of develop and move on, potentially for bigger money and reinvest. They went for Antonin Kinski, who's joined them from Slavia Prague, 15 million quid. Has had some good moments and some iffy moments, but Vicario is back now. He returned against Man United, so I presume Kinski will become a bench option. Then they left it quite late. That was very early. That was a couple of days into the window. Then they left it very, very late. They kind of kept speaking on the press conferences. Postecoglou was saying, yes, we need to be active. We need to get people in. And they kind of had this to and fro with Bayern Munich for Matthias Tell, the French under-21 forward. Originally, he was going to join. Then he kind of changed his mind. And then there was an obligation put into, not an obligation, an option to buy in the summer for 45 million quid. So he's coming on loan. He can play wide left. That's it. Brandon Austin played. Alfie Whiteman is another backup keeper. Yeah, got my names all there. Thank you, Martin. So Matthias Tell can play wide left or through the middle. Kevin Danso then also joined from Lens with a permanent 21. With an obligation to make it permanent in the summer for 21 million quid. So that kind of helped out with their defensive crisis because, as I mentioned earlier, they were playing Archie Gray, who we saw last season in central midfield or right back for Leeds. He'd been playing centre half for Spurs for most of the first half of the season. So it kind of ticks that box. So they had to bring people in. Unsurprisingly, no one was allowed to leave because there's simply no one available who could have gone out anywhere. But they got a couple of loan deals in that they have the option. One is a mandatory. One is an option if they want to. Sensible business just to see them through.
Yeah, both chucked straight in too, and we know that players need acclimatization time for the Premier League, but sadly Spurs don't have the luxury. And I think Mathis Tell started, didn't he, last week? So yeah, I'm interested to see whether he starts again this Saturday. Do you want to go to the tactics? We've kind of talked about the style of play in the 4-3-3 system.
Yeah, let's do the Monday night. Let's do the Monday night football, shall we? So they line up with the 4. This is the 4. Can you see it on the screen? Yeah, this is the 4-3-3 that they traditionally kind of line up with. It's either a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. It just depends how you want to advance one of the central midfielders. So this was their lineup, and then as we always do, is we push the kind of average player positions tab. So this to me looks very disciplined. It still keeps its shape as a 4-3-3, which kind of screams to me of a side that knows exactly how their manager wants them to play and will not kind of deviate from that. It shifts up the pitch, but it doesn't really alter in terms of the formation. You've still got the clear back two. The wing backs do push slightly higher. Bentancur is your defensive shield, your kind of defensive option in midfield to allow the likes of Bergvall and Maddison to push on. And then your front three, Song, Tell and Kulusevski are kind of almost in a perfect line. So the average player positions didn't deviate really at all from the predicted lineup. But then if you look at the player touches, i.e. where the players touch the ball more, things do start to shift around a lot. So you do see the natural high back line. Danso and Davis take most of their touches on the halfway line. Jed Spence is a real revelation for Spurs. He's come in for Destiny Doggy, who's injured. He pushes right up in the left full back position. People will remember him from his time at Forest as kind of a marauding right wing back, right back. He's in at left back to cover for injuries. He pushes right up with Song, and Maddison moves out there to create a bit of an overload. Matthias Tell did start as a central striker, but he's not the most advanced player in that attacking lineup. Maddison and Song kind of go beyond him. And the one that really surprised me was Kulusevski. He does look knackered in recent weeks. He's played an awful lot of football.
Is it
but I'm
40
surprised at how
appearances
far...
in all comps this season, Seb? That's what I heard.
Yeah, I'm surprised at how far he was dropping deep to kind of pick the ball up. Pedro Porro, the right back, we know does like to bomb on, but I was surprised at how deep Kulusevski was. I kind of thought he'd be more in line with James Maddison in that right-hand pocket, but yeah, I guess that's a sign of him looking to get on the board and looking to create things. So I thought the average player positions didn't really tell us much. They're very rigid in the 4-3-3, but the heat map, i.e. this screen where they take touches, shows they like to bomb down the left, and Jed Spence in particular really likes to push up. And I'm seeing quite a big gap of space between those two centre-halves, and especially down their left, our right, for potentially pacey players to get in behind and hurt them.
Yeah, and that left-hand side for them, that trio of Son, Maddison and Spence, as you refer to, scares the crap out of me. And I think we'll be looking at our right back options and the right wing option for Ipswich and figure out how we deal with that, but also, as you say, exploit the space. And I think a fully fit Kulusevski, they love the switch diagonal ball, so you overload down the left and then quickly break across to the right. But if Kulusevski's not 100% fit, then maybe that's a limiting factor for him there. But I kind of thought the previous iteration of that graphic, for those listening on podcast, was very much a more advanced 4-3-3 from what Seb had displayed. And then it became very left-leaning and kind of almost like an L shape down the left, with that side very much the dominant. And any stats or any other bits and pieces you want to draw attention to, Seb, before you shout out some players?
We know they're an excellent high pressing side. They're pretty much dovetailing with Bournemouth in terms of pressing intensity throughout the season. So they're normally first or second for that. Second highest for fouls won per game with an average of 12. So expect them going down and a bit of S-housery potentially. And then I won't bore on with stats, but the overall thing to take away is, attacking wise, all their numbers are pretty much top 5 or top 6, 15 shots per game, 5 average on target, 10 goals scored from counterattacks, second highest. They're 5th highest for touches in the penalty box. They've got the most corners in the league with 190, but their defensive stats, i.e. shots, goals conceded, shots conceded per game, etc., are all very much mid-table, and they are susceptible to being hit on the break as well, which, as you can see in that last graphic, when you've got your centre-halves on the halfway line, huge gaps in behind the fullbacks, and your centre-halves aren't as quick as Mickey van der Ven, that's not really that surprising.
Yeah. Key players then, we mentioned Maddison. Maybe surprise a few that he's top scorer, Seb?
Yeah, 9, despite the fact he's missed a load of the season. He made his comeback last weekend, obviously. He will be bang up for it at Portman Road. I'm presuming he's not played there since he scored the winner in that East Anglian derby. Was it a free kick, wasn't it? Was it a goal from range, maybe 2017?
Was it a penalty box shot, I think, maybe? I can't remember.
Oh, was it? I thought it was a free kick for some reason.
Put it out of my mind.
4 assists as well this season, likes to drift left, like you've just seen in the graphic. So he'll be chomping at the bit to start. We've discussed Kulusevski, 6 goals and 4 assists. Song likes
Very
to go
quickly,
down the left.
Kulusevski, probably their player of the season. Only Cole Palmer has created more chances in the Premier League this season. 60 chances created. But as folks said, along with the man you're about to speak to, has played a lot of minutes. And wouldn't surprise me if there's a bit of rotation with particularly a doggy coming back in, was it?
A doggy's the left back, so he might come back in there. But Brennan Johnson is also fit, so he could come in on that right-hand side to give Kulusevski a week off. Crucially, they've got Man City in the midweek, and we've got Man United, so there might well be a bit of rotation, given that a lot of these players aren't at full speed, and the other half of them are knackered. So they might kind of look potentially rest people for that Man City game. Song is still going, 6 goals, 7 assists. Likes to play off the left, but can also go through the middle. He was subbed off in the Man United game with a knock. Him, Danso, and Bentancur all went off with knocks, but all are expected to be fine. Bentancur will probably be the defensive shield in midfield. Pape Sarr could well come in for Lucas Bergval. We've got a Spurs supporting mate, Simon, who thinks that might well be what happens. And then Maddison will probably be the other central midfielder. The fullbacks are involved incredibly highly at Spurs. Pedro Porro averages 73 touches per game. Spence, as I've said, really weird. It's a Janoy Danassian level renaissance for him. He joined from Middlesbrough after being on loan at Forest. He then played twice. Then he spent 3 years out in the wilderness on loan in
Disappeared, didn't
places.
he? Yeah.
He wasn't even registered for their European campaign, I don't think, at the start of this season. Has come in because of the injuries, is now been registered for the second round of European games after the winter break, and he's actually doing really, really well. And his flexibility in game, yeah, he's playing left back. Like I said earlier, we remember him from being that right wing back, right winger, right back in that marauding kind of Forest side. But he's kind of fitting in here, there, and everywhere, and doing a really good job. I think it was maybe one of the cup games. He started at left back, moved to right back, and by the end of the game was playing right midfield. So he's really turned around his career there. As I mentioned, Vicario is back in goal. He returned after a few months out against Man United. Second highest in the goals prevented stats with plus 3.5. So expect him to carry on as well. But as I said, they have got Man City in midweek, so there could well be some rotation. In terms of the injuries, Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero are both due back in March. This game should come too early for them. Solanke has been out for 6 weeks, was out for 6 weeks with an injury sustained in January, so he won't be around. Timo Werner is still a couple of weeks ago. And Richarlison.
Werner came back from injury in the game at Portman Road, didn't he? And then has had another relapse, presumably. I think he came off the bench, didn't he, in the second half, and they tried to.
He was rubbish. Yeah, he ran. Yeah. He could run in a straight line really. Basically, Jamie Peters. He could run in a straight line really quickly, and they didn't know what to do with it at the other end. Yeah. Richarlison and Radu Dragusin, he tore his ACL. He's played so much football. They're both out longer term, so it's not as much of an injury crisis as it perhaps was 2 or 3 weeks ago. But they are still missing, their first choice centre halves, which goes in our favour.
Finally, referee Tim Robinson has been well publicised this week, making his return back to Portman Road since the Leicester game that he refereed, and the situations that everyone can recall there with penalties and red cards. Probably more relevant for me though, Seb. I thought he was very card happy on the opening day. He was a referee for the Liverpool home game, and kind of similar to the chat that we had about Rob Jones and the Villa game on Sunday in the Flagship show. I do wonder whether he's one of these referees that is really keen to get the yellow cards out to stop a kind of an underdog team from kicking the crap out of the opposition. And I wonder whether that might be a factor, but I'm sure he's going to be greeted with warm, effusive love from the Suffolk faithful on Saturday. We'll be back after this to talk about how Ipswich set themselves up to take on Spurs.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Thank you to Atwells and to our friends at One Stop Badges, our supporters for the podcast for the entirety of this season. 10% promo in the link in the description if you want to get yourself some badges, little keepsakes and mementos for your brand, charity or podcast. Click the link and avail yourself of that. We mentioned episode 900 available to our Telegram subscribers, 2-week free trial. Match day chat will open up on Friday afternoon and you can get involved in the debate, which continues seemingly 24/7, 365, because we've got an international audience there. So get involved in Telegram. But as always, the Flagship show back Sunday night with Ben, Dave and Joe. Definitely get involved with the Blue Monday Rewind, one of the best ones so far this season, I think, with Craig and Dave. And at some point on Friday, we'll put out Ben and Mikey's predictions for the weekend. And also, can I give a shout out to Call Me Ted, who have provided me the print above my right shoulder, I think it is, or left shoulder. I can't figure out how to do this. Head to their website, callmeted.co.uk, to get yourself prints from all of their artists, program covers, or gig type posters for every match in the Premier League home match this season. So thank you to Call Me Ted. Ipswich then, Seb, there's some really obvious questions like who replaces Tuanzebe and who replaces Enciso, but there's always the lingering question mark about central midfield as well. So take us through your thinking.
So for me, I would have Ben Godfrey come in for Tuanzebe. Ben Johnson, I thought in the second half when he kind of dropped back to right back against Villa was really good. Struggled a bit in the first half, but was really good in the second half. But I would want Godfrey there for his pace, given Song and Spence are fairly rapid, and we'll look to double up on that side. So I'd have Godfrey in there. Are we assuming Leif Davis is fit? If he's fit, I think he comes back in, but we just don't know. Do we? There was no pre-match presser, so we don't know the situation there. If it's Townsend, then fine. He seems to be very steady.
I liked him.
A really good understudy. Yeah, really decent. Central midfield. Even if Sam Morsey is fit, I would not change Phillips and Kiyust. I thought Phillips was really good against Villa. I think it's now time for them to have a decent run of games together and see what they can do. So I wouldn't be changing that. And then I guess it will depend if Sammy Smodic is fit to play in the 10. If he's not, what I would do personally, I'd keep Ben Johnson in that kind of slightly deeper right wing role, switch Amari into the 10, and I would bring Broadband. It's like last year, isn't it? Broadhurst. I'd bring in Nathan Broadhead on the left-hand side to make up for Enciso dropping out behind Liam Delap. So that there on the screen is my likely 11, assuming Leif Davis is fit. I think he'll come back in. If not, Connor Townsend and Ben Johnson and Ben Johnson and Ben Godfrey, the two Bens, just to kind of firm up that right-hand side.
Yeah, I haven't got a huge amount of quarrel with that lineup. I do think part of me wonders whether if Smodic is fit, and from what we were led to believe last week, he was on the periphery, wasn't he, of the Villa squad, but wasn't involved on the match day. If he is fit, not least for his potential for an overhead kick repeat, but I do think Amari on the right with Godfrey at right back might be a good combo, especially given if you've got Spence jogging on and pushing up too high, the pace of Amari down that right-hand side might be really dangerous for us. So that's the thought there. Johnson obviously doesn't have that pace, but I think in terms of the threat that Spurs would face down that, or pose down that left-hand side, Johnson makes more sense. Jack Clark, we feel really sorry for Jack after being subbed at half-time. I guess given the fact that he was the first sub rather than Broadhead last week, any thoughts that maybe he gets a go at home, or are you happy with Broadhead? I think I go with Broadhead, but I'm asking the question.
I'd play Broadhead. I thought Jack Clark obviously was excellent away at Coventry. I think it was quite telling, like you say, that he was the first choice to replace Enciso last weekend, and he was just the wrong guy at the wrong time to be subbed in at half time. It was either him or Hutchinson. It was never going to be Hutchinson, as proven by the assist for Delap's goal. So yeah, I think Jack Clark has to be patient on the bench. I would play Broadhead because at recent times at home, even against Southampton, where we a poor result, he was the spark and looking to make things happen. It was him going off that was the catalyst for it all starting to unwind a little bit. So I think Broadhead at Portman Road with a full crowd behind him, I would fancy him even to get a goal at the weekend. Yeah,
Mike D here. I'd like to see us go with the extra attacker, but Johnson works well on the right. We don't really see it at that's home, true. Though. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. It tends to be an away tactic, as we saw for the first time, really, at Tottenham back in November. So, yeah, good shout there by Mike.
And Horseholler, Smodic at 10, and Amari on the right at some point in the game, I reckon. Maybe not start. I have some sympathy with that, Seb.
Yeah, again, if Smodic is fit enough to start, it would be a risk, I think, throwing him back in, given what happened at Coventry. But that would be the logical thing to do. Smodic 10, Amari on the right-hand side, and then we'd have Broadhead on the left. And I don't know, I worry that might leave you slightly open down their left, where they will like to double up. They might find a bit of space in behind, because you'll get more defensive duties out of Ben Johnson than we'll out of Amari Hutchinson. But then we need to win the game and we're at home. So
second half last week, Seb.
Potentially it makes sense to go for the that was kind of a 4-3-1-1 kind of.
But Amari put in a shift, didn't he? I think you could say.
Yeah, really hell of a shift, yeah.
Yeah. David supports your selection of Broady. Needs to play, he says. Very talented player. We need to say thank you to our mate David. It's been a while, David. Welcome back. Good to see you again in the live chat. €10 on a super sticker. We appreciate you and your support. If you want to do likewise, there's a button to press in the chat function on YouTube. But as always, a thumbs up is very much appreciated, whether you're watching on YouTube or even on Facebook. And if you're listening on your podcast app of choice, a 5-star rating, also very appreciated. Oh, I feel sick. I'm pushing for love and affection. We know you're out there. We appreciate you. But these things make me feel better. So just do it for me and all of Seb's hard work as well. I'm laying it on too thick. Let's move it on. Colin Smodic, yes, please, he says. Hopefully he'll be fit and can repeat heroics from the Tottenham Stadium. We will come back and do predictions at the end and our new feature. I'm going to gamble with this and it will be an absolute nightmare, I suspect, but we'll give it a go. That's worth sticking around right to the end for. But firstly, we need to talk about. Do we need to talk about FPL? Thank you to Brett Vale, another pre-match show partner this season. Golf club in Constable Country. I got in there before you could say anything, Seb. Lots of a plethora of offers at Brett Vale. Head to bretvalegolf.co.uk for membership fees that run all the way through to March next year that are frozen at 2024 prices. Get yourself 25 credit on your membership card to be used in the bar or the pro shop. Get yourself some pro V1s and all that kind of great stuff. Just quote Blue Monday. Let them know that we sent you. And any other message that you want to share that Seb has got for a t-shirt that I'll have to inevitably wear at some point. It'll be next season, won't it? Or are we going to call it when it's over?
No, yeah, we have to play it through. It's how we've always done it in the past. So
drag it
I have
out.
to sit here through weeks and weeks of predictions misery for the last 2 or 3 years. So you have to keep it going to the very last week, and then your punishment will be the first show of next season.
Well, game week 25, I think you'll admit, I at least made vaguely competitive once.
How did it work out for you putting Zazie in? Did it go all right? Did it? Because you sat here last week and said he might get 2 clean sheets. I laughed at you.
Well, I thought there was a moment last night where he's going to get sent off against Liverpool. Fortunately, he didn't. But yeah, it didn't get me a particularly good points haul. But nevertheless, played in both games. I could have picked better, couldn't I? But yeah, 77.
Cody Gakpo didn't feature. Did he miss both games? I think.
No, but fortunately, I had Mateta on the bench who scored against Everton, so he came in for Gakpo. But yeah, wasted.
You did really well. To be fair, you got it close, and you deserve the credit. And yeah,
only
great
5
job,
points,
little buddy.
And then Abari sorted you out. But yeah, the head-to-head not looking great. And 280 points gap there. Let's put that one away. Do you want to tour through your team this week?
I had to take out. I had one transfer to spend, so I've put Ahmad on the bench because he's out for the season. But I took out Ndiaye, who is also, I think, out for the season. So I did a straight striker swap and bought in Wisa from Brentford to go straight into the front line. Apart from that, I am unchanged, and as always, my ITFC representatives are Amari Hutchinson and Liam Delap, the magic combination from last weekend.
And Salah, your captain, even though they're playing City.
Yeah, but you've done this, haven't you? You've made him captain, so you've kind of killed that enjoyment for me. So I'm not going to change it because you changed it. Okay, right. This should be interesting. It's like a big game Salah against Man City. And you haven't captained him. That's interesting.
He's my vice captain. Cliver, who's got for Bournemouth, Wolves at home. I kind of thought I brought him in last week they've got quite a good run, Bournemouth. So I've majored on Bournemouth, but I've had to deal with Enciso's injury. Which I was really excited about that transfer last week. I thought, that'll be an exciting dimension to our conversations on the FPL feature. And then I cursed him, didn't I? So I had to bring in an Ipswich player to be able to deal with Davis's injury. So I've brought in Amari Hutchinson, which is boring because you've got him too. But there's no one else who starts and finishes with any consistency that we can predict. So there you go. So Mateta comes in for a start.
You've taken Chris Wood out your side, have you?
Yeah, that was last week.
14-goal Chris Wood in the Premier League.
And has he scored in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, he scored last week. I think he got 2. Did he score a hat-trick against Brighton?
No, because they lost to Fulham last weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. They've got a tough run of games. Yeah. Okay. I know. I was going to say, I
know what you're doing. Yeah, of course. That's silly of me. Yes, sorry.
Stupid bloody feature. So yeah, I've got Justin Kluivert as my captain. Watch him. His wife gave birth, didn't she, last week? And there was rumours that he wasn't going to play. So that's some nice jeopardy. So I look forward to someone treading on a rake or getting lost on the M25 and not making kickoff on Saturday for me. And we'll be back next week. Will we be back next week? What is it? It's Man United on
Man United in midweek, and then it's
It'll
be weird because it's Forest on the Monday night, so we'll have to work out what we're going to do next week.
Yeah,
we might have something for Man United, mightn't we?
Yeah, do you want to tell everyone about
that? Yeah, there might be a pre-match show for Man United. Will it be live or pre-recorded? You put me on the spot now. I don't know.
No. We're going to record it Monday night and we'll put it out. Okay. Well, we'll record it Monday night. I might put it out straight away on Monday, but we'll give you a bonus. 50. It won't be 40
It won't be
minutes.
The full length. No, it won't be full length, but it's Man United. So, had it been Southampton, we wouldn't have bothered, but it is Man United. So we will put something together for you and we will get you a bonus extra pre-match fix next week because there might not be one until later on in the week with the Forest game.
Streaky quoting the Simpsons at me. He's even cited the episode. I love the working on that one. Neil, FPL time, I need a chuckle. There's literally no crumbs of comfort in the chat for me whatsoever. AD loves the Brett Vale jingle. Thank you to YouTube's copyright free music.
Lovely to meet AD last week at Villa Park as well.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier in the chat. Yeah. So come and say hello. If we have, someone came and said, have you got a one-stop badge, Rich, at the Felixstowe on Sunday? And I felt so guilty that I didn't. But it is worth noting we are down to the bare bones on one-stop badges. So if we find some, and there will be some in a box somewhere after moving house, we'll sort you out, but maybe we'll do.
I will have my last few at the Greyhound on Saturday. I haven't got many. I think I've got 4 or 5 left. So if you get to yourselves to the Greyhound pre-match on Saturday, I will have some.
Yeah, apparently Chris Wood scored a V for them, but so did Mateta. So I'm not any worse off having taken him out of the team. Get your predictions in. That is where we're going to go next. I'm not going to play the music. Should I play the music again? Do people want to hear the music? Let's play the music. Let me have a breather. Let me compose myself after taking an absolute battering on the chat and from Seb on the FPL feature. So coming up could be the first and last time that I predict Ipswich's Saturday scoreline with the help of 2025 Panini stickers. I have 5 packs of stickers, and how many Ipswich stickers versus how many Spurs stickers gives me the score. So we're going to go there second after Seb gives his thoughts, and you can get yours into the chat. That's where we'll go next.
I am really torn on this. I don't know which way it's going to go. I think somebody is going to win 3-2 at Portman Road on Saturday afternoon, because it's two sides that can't really defend. Let's be honest. I know we did a back to the wall.
Alex Palmer, what are you saying?
I know, but traditionally, let's be honest, we've conceded 50 goals so far this season. Spurs have conceded 37. They're the biggest, actually, I forgot to mention this earlier, they are the biggest overachievers on the XG against. The XG against is they should have conceded something like 46 or 47. So it's two sides that do not keep clean sheets and aren't great defensively. So somebody is going to win 3-2. If I think logically, I predicted us to win against Southampton, and we all know how that went. And I predicted us to lose at Spurs in November and lose at Villa last weekend. So I'm going to predict a 3-2 Tottenham victory, because we all know what will then happen. It means we'll put in a blinding performance. I'll get called a negative podcaster again. And then
we predicted defeats last week, didn't we?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, Villa and Spurs, both times I've predicted defeats. Probably Chelsea as well back in December. And whenever I predicted defeat for Ipswich, they tend to turn up and perform. So I'm going to say 3-2 Spurs with a massive winking face.
Right, here we go. I'm going to predict. Oh my goodness me! First sticker out of the pack, Seb.
Brilliant.
Oh dear, 1-0 down. Drag us in there. Ings, Kovacic, a golden John Terry. Believer, this is not working. This feature is backfired in a major way. I apologize if this actually happens. Can you imagine if I get it right? I've got a shiny Southampton, David Raya. Oh my goodness me! No, nothing of any use there. Oh man, I feel pressure now.
If this predicts a loss and it happens, we're never doing this ever again.
I know, can you imagine? Right, we've got nothing else here. Man United, Southampton, Villa. Nope, nothing there either. I'm running out of packs. Oh my goodness me, Seb. It's another Spurs sticker.
So we're 2-0 down. Brilliant.
2-0 down. Oh, there's nothing there of Ipswich. We need a major second half recovery here. 2-0 is a dangerous score. We know that.
Yes, of course. Paul Hurst, the great football philosopher.
It's better to be the hunter than the hunted. And that last pack has nothing in it. So Spurs are going to win 2-0 thanks to Panini. We need the chat to help us out here, because we are bringing the mood down in the home stretch of the podcast, and we are bringing the mood down. Help us out, folks. What have we got?
I did a winking face. Everyone knows what that means in reality. 3-2 Spurs.
Yeah, well, then Horse on a road 3-2 Ipswich, he says. I correctly predicted the 2-1 loss to Saints, so this is not entirely emotional. Ashley's going for a 2-1. He's feeling it. That's what we want. Rob also going for a 2-1. Neil, 2-1. Amari first goal scorer, he says. Streaky, nice score prediction, but 3 points for Ipswich, presumably. I'll embellish there for you on your bar, Streaky. Jeremy, I'm up for it too. 2-1 Town. 80, 2-1 Town. The Bladinator, 5-4. Doesn't say to who. Greg's going for a 1-1. I mean, after Seb and I have predicted, well, Seb has predicted his defeat.
They don't draw, do they? They don't draw.
They don't draw, Greg. But
And we don't draw against them either in our history.
Would you take a 1-1 if I offered it?
Nah, play the game.
No,
Bring it
play
on.
the game. Don't get on the bus.
Draws don't get us anywhere. Like Ben said on the flagship, you know, you've got to start getting those 3 points.
JB conceded the lap, continuing his goal run, and Fancy Town getting the 3 points. Okay, going 2-1. More 2-1s. Amanda's going for a 3-2 roller coaster as well. Doesn't say who, but we're going to assume it's Town. Rob 2-1. A lot of 2-1s. The laps on equaliser. Then Madison own goal. Late on equals Limbs. 2-0 Town for David W. Palmer penalty save. Brody in the lap rather than Brady. I think that is GVT 3-2. We've got a fist pump from Dafford, which is good for me. 2-1.
He's my Welsh office colleague. He's the Spurs fan I was alluding to earlier.
Thank you for your intel there. And I saw the thing that Seb put on your desk after the 2-1 defeat at the Tottenham Stadium. HR will be in contact. Don't worry. Rob, you've upset Rob, Seb, there. Colin, I love how Colin puts the whole team name. Ipswich Town FC 3, Tottenham Hotspur. Tim Gudgeon, or I need
Colin's proper.
Yeah. Ipswich Town 3, Tottenham Hotspur 0. John's going for a 2-0. I'll make David Bergen. Thank you again for the super chat. 1-1, another 2-2. Plenty of I think we've covered all the bases here, haven't we? We're at the hour. I feel like we need to say goodbye, don't we? Thank you to AD. See you at the Greyhound, maybe.
I owe you a badge, AD. I will try and keep a badge back for you if you're at the Greyhound. Remind me, somebody.
Later, at least I can fill my sticker album. Yeah, exactly right. I did do a test run last week, and Ipswich won 2-0 last week at Villa. Obviously didn't work, but so we tested it last week and it worked much better than this week. So we'll see whether that makes a return ever again. Thank you everyone for getting involved in the chat. Before you leave, do give a thumbs up. Do subscribe if you've not done so already. 3 shows a week landing in your subscription feed, whether that's on YouTube or on your podcast app of choice. 5-star ratings. Let us know you're listening as well. We had a few people message us on the weekend when they were on the road up to Villa or on the train and stuff like that. If you're listening right now and on the way down to Portman Road on Saturday, or out and about, maybe you're in IKEA, maybe you're in B&M or something like that, and distracting yourself from shopping and all that kind of stuff, let us know you're there. We love to hear from you. And Flagship back Sunday night. Dave, Ben, Joe, I don't know why I did it in that order, talking about Spurs after the fact. Blue Monday Rewind, prediction show, Call Me Ted, Telegram. Seb, thank you as always for all your insights, and I'll let you sign us out.
Thank you, mate. Good to hear from you. Good to see you. See you at the weekend. Looking forward to this one, making the trip back down. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Come and see us in the Greyhound if you are about. And like I say, keep your eyes peeled for a Man United mini preview at the start of next week. And let's hope at 5 p.m. Ange Postecoglou is staring down at the floor outside the tunnel at Portman Road Ross being interviewed, saying, "It's just who we are, mate. Come on, you Blues."